Yo, people, welcome back. Lateness is greatness. You already know what time it is. It is time for London's Clubs Carnage. And people are already saying, where is Lee? Where is Lee? Well, listen, Lee is out sick. Do you know what I'm saying? He texted me an hour ago. He's not well. So he said, let him get some rest. Do you know what I'm saying? It's going to be a shorter show today anyway. But I said to myself, let's just do the warm-up. Do you know what I'm saying? We got a new man in the building to represent West Ham. Corey is in the building. How you doing, bro?
I'm good, mate. I was saying to you beforehand, finally I'm getting the call up because West Ham were getting a little bit of credit. So I'm buzzing to be in the conversation, to be fair.
Fantastic. And obviously Toby, as per usual, is here as well. We got a nice little game to talk about, Toby, as well. I'm not going to lie, we kind of have to reminisce, but do you know what I'm saying? Just to get the fireworks going. West Ham, you did beat Tottenham not too long ago as well. And then obviously you guys are ahead of all of us in the league. So, I mean, the first way to start this, and just to keep it very simple from the office, Corey, I mean, you guys don't really get much media attention. I feel like you guys in Leicester are not really spoken about too much. But do you feel like you can make top four realistically, or are you just on a high at the moment?
To be fair, it's more on a high. I think we'll definitely get Europe now. I think we're definitely in that contest. If we get Europa League, that's an unreal season given the start. But I think now we're in and about fourth place. It's like we've got Leeds coming up, Arsenal. Those are winnable games. United as well were poor last night. We win those games, then I can start to talk about it. I think once we get past Leicester in a couple of weeks' time, then we've got an easier run of fixtures. But yeah, it's mad, mate, to be honest. I can't believe we're fourth in the league. I keep checking, thinking it's going to stop at some point, but we're massively consistent.
It's weird because it's not just so long ago in the summer, Frank Lampard and Chelsea were trying to take Declan Rice from you, and we was having that big saga in the summer with all the media and everything. But now it seems that Soucek has almost taken over in terms of the spotlight in that role as well. Just talk to me about obviously Jesse Lingard as well, because obviously he came against Tottenham. I think Toby that result was a bit peak as well. You know, Jesse Lingard there, he's been pretty good since he's come into the club as well. What have you made of him?
Yeah, like I was actually against it when the rumour come out, and I was thinking, oh no, please don't bring Jesse Lingard. It's one of them ones, isn't it? I think we get linked with Phil Jones, who's kind of in that same breath, and then he come in against Villa, and honestly, because the thing is, and we thought we was getting a player that was going to work hard, and fair enough, that's what Moyes wants. But his quality, he's actually massively underrated for what he offers. Like genuinely, I'm surprised how good he is. I can't believe I'm sitting here saying that. Like now, I'm thinking, sign him up in the summer, get the 20 mil deal done. I know United fans are playing around, say, "Oh, we'll give you Lingard and Jones for Declan Rice," and I was like, "No way." But we definitely, if we get him in, he's such a good player. He's brilliant against Man City as well. So, and he obviously scored that wonderful goal against Tottenham, which is very much appreciated.
Toby, how are you feeling, bro? Because I mean, you got a win the other day. You was drinking champagne.
Oh, we talking about Spurs? I thought we were talking about West Ham.
You got a W recently. Do you know what I mean? We got to celebrate. I mean, how are you feeling since then? Do you think it's a change? Because I've been saying Gareth Bale's been stepping up recently. He's been changing a bit. Do you think that you can go on a bit of a run now? Do you think that was just like a game really just to isolate and praise in isolation, but not really take too much from it?
I think it's a game that you primarily praise in isolation. And you obviously hope that it's going to lead to a run, because this is not just one game now. He came on against West Ham and he was the best player on the pitch. Yeah. They couldn't touch him. Came on against Man City for the last 10-15 minutes. They couldn't touch him. And then, of course, he dispatched those farmers that we played in the Austrian League, in the Europa League as well. So it seems as if he's building up a head of steam, and the hope is, it continues, because whilst we've seen it sort of bubble on the surface, that game against Burnley was the one game where it was like bang, like you're scoring, you're creating, you're doing everything, you're dominating the match. So I like that performance. And the hope is that we see a lot more of those performances for us, because that can be such a game changer for us between now and the end of the season, provided he stays fit. Because let's be real, as Spurs fans, we didn't think that we were going to get this version of Gareth Bale. Well, I didn't anyway. There might be some other Spurs fans who probably did, but I didn't think we were going to get this version of Gareth Bale heading into the final third of the season. So it's good to have that. It's good to potentially have him as an option for goal contributions, for winning games. But it's not just him. You have the likes of Dele as well, who looks like he's hopefully going to come back into the fold. Remains to be seen whether he can stamp his place in the team and give us the same impact Gareth Bale's given us now. But these are very much two players who pretty much most of our fan base had ruled out in terms of any major contribution towards the closing stages of this season. So to have them in contention to not only play, but to put in some good performances, it can only be a positive for us. Whether it will be enough for top four, I don't know. If I had to put money on it, I wouldn't bet on Spurs finishing in the top four. I don't think we're consistent enough. But again, we've not been able to rely on players consistently. So if we are able to rely on players consistently, then anything is possible. But
yeah,
now you just have to take it one step at a time and see what materializes.
It's very tight. Like, I don't even think people understand just how tight this race is. I mean, Tottenham are in 8th, right? And so are Aston Villa. So you guys are joint 8th, I guess, with the same points. Aston Villa in 9th. You both have 39 points from 25 games. So you've got a game in hand over us, over Liverpool, and over West Ham. And West Ham are on 45 points. So you're 3 points, you're 6 points behind with a game in hand. If you guys were to win your games, I mean, this Everton as well, this table actually could not be any tighter for the race for top 4. Like, literally, it could flip, you know, completely opposite way around in terms of where everybody's standing at the moment, with you guys in 4th. Obviously, Leicester as well are in 3rd. They've dropped points the last 2 games as well. So I feel like this is going to come down to goal difference potentially as well. It's one of those ones. I mean, just going forward as well, how... We talk about West Ham for Champions League. Obviously, Chelsea play Liverpool today as well, which is going to be a huge
West
game.
Ham aren't getting Champions League.
You don't think they
no chance. No chance.
No chance. Like,
really? I think we've got a much better chance than Spurs. They're out there with Villa.
But I don't think we are getting Champions League though. So you can say that all you want. I don't believe Spurs are going to get Champions League football through finishing in the top 4. I don't think we're good enough to finish in the top 4 this season.
I'll tell you what, it is tough because I think you've obviously got Chelsea picking up form, and if Liverpool start to pick up form, then it's very, very difficult for us to compete. And naturally as well, you've got United coming up, Leicester coming up. If we drop points against them, then it's tough for us. We've just got to stick in and around, because I know we've got 5 fixtures towards the end of the season. If we pick up points there, then we've got a chance, but it's tough because it's so tight.
I mean, why do you say they have no chance? Because everybody else kind of has European football to focus on as well, so that could play a part in it, no?
It could, but you just expect that the quality will come through eventually. Liverpool have been on a hellacious run. They've had pretty much all the tough teams now. I think their run of tough fixtures is due to come to an end pretty much after Arsenal, which is on the 3rd of April. So before that, they have you lot today. Then they have Fulham on Sunday at home. Then they have Wolves away. Then they have Arsenal away as well. But you look at Liverpool's last couple fixtures. I mean, their last fixture of the season, at home to Palace. Their second last fixture of the season, away to Burnley. Their third last fixture of the season, away to West Brom. Their 4th last fixture of the season, at home to Southampton. And then, of course, the outlier, their 5th from last game of the season, away to Man United. I just think Liverpool still have one more run in them. They have one more push to get top 4. They have Jurgen Klopp. They have Mo Salah. They have, fair enough, Sadio Mane. He's not played all this season, but they still have enough quality to get a top 4 spot. They have Fabinho, who's back fit now. They have Jota, who's back fit now as well. They have reinforcements that are going to come back into the team. I just think the quality will show through. West Ham, I admire what they've done. It's admirable. And like Corey says, they have actually had the benefit of playing a lot of their tough fixtures already. But there's still some tough fixtures to come. And there's still a sizable gap in terms of quality that you expect to show more and more over the next couple of weeks.
I think for me, I wouldn't say I expect them to finish it, but I think the fact that everybody else has got European football, and I think West Ham can just focus on the target and the objective, I think that kind of plays a part. And you look at Tottenham and Arsenal, for instance, as well, potentially looking at the Europa League and saying to themselves, well, maybe that could be a route, you know, maybe that, and then it's trying to juggle 2 things at once. Chelsea is still in the Champions League after beating Atletico as well. Man United, obviously in Europe. So I just feel like teams could start blurring the lines in terms of what they focus on. And if that starts to happen, then that gives the likes of West Ham and Leicester, well, Leicester are still in it as well. So it gives West Ham a real advantage over everyone. I do want to look at, in terms of West Ham as well, just how impressed have you been with that midfield, Declan Rice and Soucek? Because obviously, Rice is basically your captain now, isn't it? With nobody doesn't really play anymore. Just talk to us about that partnership. And do you worry that if you don't make Champions League, do you think those two could go to a new club? Do you think it'll be hard to keep them?
Look, I mean, they've been unbelievable. Like, I think Soucek has been... I thought he was a little bit sloppy on Saturday, but that's by his high standards. I think the goals that he gets from midfield is ridiculous. Obviously, he's a bit of an anomaly because he can get back. He's got the athleticism to play defensive midfield, but he can make those runs forward, and it's helping Declan out massively. Because I remember when Declan was in the midfield with Tobs, and it's just... He has to do all his running for him. Declan's improved as well as a player. Like, I think people look at him as a defensive midfielder. We've seen him a bit more like an 8 this season, more progressive runs, more passes. Them two together are absolutely superb. We can play a low block, we can press high, we can do so many things with them two. I think what West Ham have got in their favour is we've got a little bit of credit in the bank. I think if we get European football, Declan Rice is captain of West Ham at the minute, it'll give us another season. Soucek's a strange one because I know he kind of loves the club and Soufal's his mate and he's got him there. And West Ham, I think that team spirit is really getting strong. But again, I think Declan stays for another year if we get European football. But then we have to offer him wages because at the moment I think he's on 40k a week, which is just absolutely ridiculous. He should be our highest earner.
Declan's on 40k a week?
He's on basically... So when it got to December, the board was saying, we'll give him a new contract. And they still haven't given him a contract for... I think Fabianski's out of contract at the end of the season.
I think you have offered him a contract, but he hasn't accepted. That's the problem, isn't it?
I don't know, mate. I don't know. We'd know. I'd know if someone had offered, if it was kind of in talks. He has got a 4-year deal, I think, because it was only 2 years ago. So I think the board look at it like, well, he's got time. But someone like Declan Rice needs to be your highest earner if you want to keep him. Because if City come in, or someone like a United come in the summer, they're going to test the resolve. And I don't think, because Chelsea never went there and said, here's your 60, 70 mil, that we've ever seen that. So we don't know really what Declan's going to react. But you can only assume that he'll stay.
I think irrespective of what happens with his contract situation, Declan Rice is staying at West Ham this summer. I really like Declan Rice. I think he's got a big future. I think he's 30 at centre back, and I think he's 30 in defensive midfield. But I don't see the bigger clubs coming in for him this summer with the fee that's going to be lingering over his head. I think he's being quoted at 70, 80 million. Man City,
too much.
Man City aren't going to pay that. They don't need to pay that. They got Rodri. They got Rodri. Yeah. Fernandinho's out the door. They got a buyback clause for Douglas Luiz. Thank you very much. They'll take him over Declan Rice. Man United, are they going to spend 80 million on Declan Rice? Maybe, but I don't see that. I can't see it. I can't see it happening. And Chelsea were the ones who retained a big interest, but now with Tuchel in the door, fancying Jorginho, you got Billy Gilmore coming through the ranks. You still got Kante there, etc. Do you see Chelsea really splashing out 80 million for Declan Rice right now?
I would hope not. I don't think he's worth 80 million in my opinion.
He's not. And Corey might talk down to us and say, "Oh no, how can you say he's not worth 80 million? He isn't worth 80 million." But I think if you bought Declan Rice for 50 million, that's money well spent, in my opinion. I think that's real money spent because you have a player who can, like I said, do a pretty good job in 2 positions. And I think he's better on the board than a lot of people give him credit for. He's not a passing master or dribbling god, but he can play. Like, do you get what I'm saying? So he's a very good player, very, very good player, and he's got a big future in his hands. But I think West Ham fans can rest easy this summer. I don't see him going anywhere.
It's weird that you didn't mention Tottenham in that. I mean, would the transfer there ever happen in terms of West Ham to Tottenham, or is there just too much smoke?
I wanted Declan Rice last summer. Last summer. I said.
Corey's just shriveling up. He's like,
I said it. I would love a player like him or him or Ndidi, but obviously they were unattainable. And you know what's crazy? Declan Rice. I remember I said to my friends, I would literally buy him and play him at centre back. I think he's so good. And I think and people forget that, like, because he's done such a good job in defensive midfield, people forget that this guy was putting the clamps down on seasoned pros at like 18, 19 years old in his first season at West Ham. But now that we signed Højbjerg, I made a comment a couple of weeks ago on the stream, and I'm still sticking to my comment. I know he didn't play well against West Ham, but I think Højbjerg has performed better than Declan Rice this season. And I genuinely think, even though Declan Rice can play those two positions, can play centre back well, I think Højbjerg is better on the ball than Declan Rice. So for me right now, whereas we've spent 50 million on Højbjerg, who's 26 years old, has come and made a big impact this season, I don't see the club going out and even thinking of spending 70, 80 million on Declan Rice. We got Skip out on loan at Norwich, who can play that sort of position where he sits deep, he passes, etc., etc. So he will be the backup for Højbjerg. I just don't see us going out and doing that for Declan Rice. I can't see it happening. We don't have the money, one, and we don't really need Declan Rice right now.
It's been spoken about a lot that he can play centre back, and I know he played it in the academy as well. But Corey, where would you say is his best position? Because I've heard centre back a few times now, either centre back or DM. But which one would you say? Because even as well, because Chelsea fans obviously have been linked to him heavily. Lone DM as well. Do you think you get the same out of him if you take him out of a pivot? Because I think some players are better suited to a pivot, and then some players like Ndidi are better suited to by themselves. What position would you nail him down to where he's playing now?
Yeah, I'd say defensive midfield. I think he's showing qualities of an 8. Like he's improving massively. I think people forget he was a centre back and he's almost transitioned and played a 6. Now I feel like this season he's getting further forward. The only problem is, and what used to happen with Declan Rice was people would find snippets in games where he's playing on his own as a defensive midfielder and he's getting caught out in midfield and they're saying, look, there you go, you can't do it. But West Ham's midfield was so shoddy at the time. He's better in a double pivot, but it just gives him a little bit more security. But we saw him at centre back, I think it was Everton in the cup, in a 2, doesn't work because he's transitioned so far from that position now that his positioning's off, he's reading into the game. He's fantastic defensively, but maybe in a back 3 it could work. But I think he's wasted. He played some unreal ball to Jarrod Bowen against Spurs, and Bowen literally fluffed his lines. And I was thinking, where does that come from? Left, right, he can do so much. So for me, long term, he has to play defensive midfield. I think people have said about number 8. It's too much for me. I don't think he's good enough, which sounds harsh, but defensively he's superb. Reads the game unbelievably well.
There was a game. What game? I think it was last season when we beat West Ham. When we beat you lot 2-0 at our ground. Declan Rice was the best player on the pitch by a country mile for West Ham. They lost 2-0, but he on the ball, off the ball, he was excellent. And some of his passing, the way in which he could protect the ball, I really think a lot of people underrate Declan Rice's quality. They look at him and they say, "Oh yeah, but he plays for West Ham. He's this, that, and the other." He's a very good player. I'm looking at Mo's comment. Rice is so much better than Højbjerg. Listen, I'm not mad at people putting Rice over Højbjerg. I just think, like you said, Corey, for me, I think if someone said to me Rice is better in a 2 than Højbjerg, I'll argue it, but I'm not going to be too mad at it. But the reason why I think Højbjerg has had the edge over him this season is because I just feel like as much credit as I give Declan Rice on the ball, I think Højbjerg is a lot more comfortable on the ball. I can play. I feel like I can play Højbjerg in a lone pivot role, and I trust him. I trust him with the ball more than I trust Declan Rice. I've seen it in evidence for Spurs. I've seen that when the game is going tough, Højbjerg is the one that can actually initiate attacks for Spurs. I've seen his vertical passing through the lines. I've seen his passing in the air. I just think he's a bit more comfortable on the ball than Declan Rice. I'm not saying that he's miles better on the ball, but I just think he's better with the ball than Declan Rice. And I think that comes from the culture he's had at Bayern Munich as well, where they were coached well enough in possession more than Rice has been at West Ham. I just think he's better on the ball.
Yeah, it's a fair shout. To be fair, mate, it is a fair shout. I think the only difference is I think probably Declan is better defensively, but I've been massively impressed with Højbjerg this season. I suppose your argument is why would you go spend 70 mil? You've brought a guy in for 30 mil and he's doing how much you have to spend to up the level. And I don't think really, if you're playing a double pivot and you got Ndombele in there, maybe you're all right. But Højbjerg's a great player, mate. And I think I've been impressed with him when he gets sometimes into that final third and his passing is a lot better than people give him credit for.
100%. He's a good player, but as I said, before Højbjerg came, I didn't rate Højbjerg as highly as I do now because I've seen the level. I've seen him show me stuff that I didn't think he had. Like you said, the passing. A lot of people don't give him credit for his passing, but his passing has been very good for us this season. And like you said, the defensive side, we knew he had that from Southampton anyway. He had top 5 best defensive stats for a midfielder in his last season at Southampton. But with Declan Rice, I feel like his potential is bigger than Højbjerg's. Do you get what I'm saying? I feel like Højbjerg is playing at a better level Højbjerg playing marginally at a better level now, but I just feel like Declan Rice is 21, 22 years old, and he's already up there with some of the best defensive midfielders in the league. I think his future is much bigger than Højbjerg's. I really do, and I think it's only a matter of time before he makes that step up to a bigger club. But it's just which big club is going to pay that this summer for Declan Rice? I don't know.
Another player I want to talk about before we move on to the other clubs is Antonio, because Antonio is very underrated. He's a player that I remember when he used to play on the wing, right? And he was just like an out-and-out winger. Not really, I don't even know what to compare him to, but he wasn't like your Balassi or anything like that. He was just a good Premier League winger. But then he's turned into a striker now. I mean, what do you make of him? Because it's an interesting one. Like if you guys were to say, is he one of the top strikers in the Premier League? You probably wouldn't say that, but he's one of them guys that are in that middle ground where it's like, do you need to upgrade on him for you to actually make a top four? I get it really depends as well with West Ham. Are you trying to make top four now? Is this kind of like a hit and hope, or do you think you can do this consistently under Moyes in the seasons? Do you think you can be up here in the top six consistently and break into that pack? I mean, with players like Antonio, how do you see yourselves in that kind of respect?
Mickey is a very good player. Like off the ball, he's unreal. Like, I think he suits Moyes' system. I think there was a time when, I think it was last season after Project Restart, we were just playing long balls into Antonio. And obviously you can run the channel, hold it up and get him behind. We just weren't committing men forward. Like now we're playing a system where he's got Lingard around him, Ben Rama for now. He's got players that he can work off and he's improving. Long term, he's got a problem with his hamstrings. Like his injury record is not good at all. And I think he come back in December and we rushed him back because we've only got one striker. And he just didn't look the same. To be fair, against Tottenham first half, Man City first half, I thought he was superb. Exactly what I expect to see of him. But the problem, mate, is squad depth. West Ham need a lot of bodies in the summer to kind of supplement that squad. If we keep that first team fit, we can make a run for top four. If one of them goes out, and Antonio or Lingard, any of those players, then it's sketchy. I think everyone, a West Ham fan, will just give a massive caveat to all of that. If we can keep them in the squad, argument is if Fabianski's in on Saturday, maybe he makes a save for the first goal for City. So there are little things in it that you think, you've got to sort it out. But Mickey's been great. Like honestly, if we keep him fit from now to the end of the season, but he doesn't, I can't explain it, but he's naturally a winger. He doesn't make striker runs. There's a couple of times we've been in the break and he's sort of run into the wing. He's not running in behind. He's not like, you see Bamford play for Leeds. He's superb at it. He'll play between the lines of the two centre-backs. Mickey don't really do that. But he's lethal when he's in the box. To be fair, that's where he thrives. Can't shoot from outside the box, but the minute he's in it, he's a threat.
Yeah,
he's a weird one because he's not really Antonio. I like him a lot. I respect what he's become at West Ham. He's not really got. Let's be real. He's not really got much technical quality, but it's weird. Some of his finishes are befitting of a player who has technical quality, if that makes sense. Like he does some things on the pitch where you're like, okay, right, you can actually play ball, even though you're not like a baller per se. And I think he's just maximized his strengths well. Like you said, he was shunted out on the wing. I remember that season under Payet, you had Payet and him and Lanzini as your front
three.
three.
Was unbelievable.
And,
don't even go.
Don't do this to me, please, Toby.
No, it's true. And then Antonio, the thing is, Payet was unbelievable that season, but Antonio got big goals for West Ham that season. I remember he scored a big goal against us for West Ham to win that game 1-0 as well. So I think Antonio he's a good player, man. And I think you hit the nail on the head, Corey. I think he suits Moyes' system to a T in a sense that he can hold up the ball, he can dribble with the ball as well, and he basically plays. He can be left alone in an island. He can be left alone with two man, and he's so combative in possession that he can still make something happen, and he can just disrupt the opposition. And I think that those are the type of strikers that Moyes. Why do I keep calling him Moyes?
Like your best friends or something.
Those are the type of strikers that David Moyes needs in his team. Like Arnautovic, maybe he wasn't as much of a big presence, but he was a bully. Like he was aggressive, and he could carry the ball. He could drive at the opposition as well. So I think Antonio, like you said, the big question mark is his injury problems. You hit the nail on the head. I think one key injury and all your progress literally just collapses. Rice gets injured is peak. Antonio gets injured is peak. Ogbonna gets injured is peak. So Kufar gets injured is peak. Do you get what I'm saying? So like Antonio selling flipping Haller in January, not bringing in another striker in. It's not short-handed. Like, I don't know, Yarmolenko up top. Nah, not for me.
Why did you guys do that?
Yeah.
It's our board mate, isn't it? That's exactly. They saw the pound note, sold him, and didn't bring anyone in. And to be fair, if you watched Allaire play for West Ham, it was at times it felt like playing with 10 men. I don't want to dig him out because he's technically a very good player, probably better than Antonio. But like Toby says, with Moyes, he needs his striker to do a lot. He asks a hell of a lot, and that's why at times like you get Mickey up there, Lingard playing false nine because they're willing to do that work. But we've got 20 mil in the bank that we didn't spend, but you're running a risk. To go back on the injury point, I actually think we can get goals from set pieces. I think we can just about manage it without Mickey. But if Rice or Soucek go, for me, that's it. Because we can't bring anyone in. Noble's not at that level. And I don't know how we'd play. We'd have to play wing backs and it just wouldn't work. So
Sorry, I even forgot as well. Ogbona's actually injured now because I know you lot are playing. I know Diop has come back into the team and he's looked
he's done well. Yeah.
Obviously, Craig Dawson doing his thing as well. Listen, West Ham, you can stay in the mix. You can stay in the mix, but I'm willing to put good money that West Ham will not finish top 4 this season.
It's an interesting one as well. You signed Ben Rama as well from Brentford. Everybody was tracking him. He was doing like Neymar stuff in the Championship, and then obviously you've got the likes of Buendia at Norwich as well that potentially could go to a better team as well. I think if West Ham were to buy smart, I think you could establish yourselves as like a top 7, but because it's not like as if Arsenal or even Tottenham at the moment are looking mad dangerous with the managers that they've got in charge. And that's a good way to segue into Tottenham. We've got Fulham tonight. I mean, Toby, how are you feeling, bro? It's a nice little London derby against Fulham at Craven Cottage. Surely you man are going to wrap this one up. There's no worries on your side, surely, on this one.
No, there is worries. Fulham have conceded like 1 goal in their last 5 Premier League matches. Fulham have conceded the least goals, the second least goals since late December. Only Man City have conceded fewer. So there's definitely a worry that this is a side who are much harder to beat than people think these days as well. And they got some pretty dangerous threats in transition, and they actually play like a pretty decent style of football. So they got fast, pacey players who will be waiting in the wings to literally hit us on the break. And so I'm worried about that. So, but man for man, you're right. We should be going in there and we should be flexing our muscles. They got a point at our ground. They were better than us in the second half, but I can also look at the first half and say that we should have been out of sight. We should have completely been out of sight. We created about like 3, 4, even 5 clear-cut chances to put that game to bed, and we didn't do it. So for me, it's all about getting our better players on the pitch. This is a side who are not conceding as many goals as they were at the start of the season. So it tells you that you need the most ruthless players and the most clinical players on the pitch in the event that we create chances tonight. So I want to see Bale starting. Of course, Son and Kane are going to start. I'd like to see Dele start as well. I know Lucas Moura played well, but I feel like we need some cuteness in the final third. We can't just have his chaotic running into 3-man, 4-man. I love his energy, but he ain't the type of player I would play tonight. I'd put him aside. Play Dele, smaller pitch, get your better players on the pitch, get the job done, and happy days. So I'm going for a 2-1 win, maybe even a 3-1 win tonight. I don't think it's going to be easy, but I do think we just need to get back to basics and literally just play our best players. Play your best players on the pitch, and you've got as good chances as any team going to Craven Cottage when it comes to getting a result.
Fulham are really fighting for it now because they're unbeaten in their last 5, 2 wins. But at the same time as well, they've only got 4 wins this season. So 2 of those have come in the last 5. That's how bad they were for the majority of the season until their recent form where Parker's kind of like shaped them up. And you're right, they're going to be difficult to beat. And the thing is that I worry with Josie, we've spoken about it so many times, when he should go for the throat, and you've got Gareth Bale playing well now. You wouldn't play Bale, no?
Pardon?
Would you play Gareth in this game, Gareth Bale?
Of course, 100%.
Yeah, he's been playing well recently, and then you've got Kane and Son. You'd expect that front 3 to do business. But again, it's like Mourinho, will he have the handbrake on and all of these things? I mean, what have you made, Corey, of Tottenham so far? Because half of their fan base want Mourinho out, half of them want him to stay. It's like, it's very 50-50 from what I can see on socials.
Yeah, look, I mean, Gareth Bale is the shining light at the minute, isn't he? Even when he come on against us, he was giving us absolute nightmares, and we massively rode our luck. And they do look better with him in the side. But I thought to be fair, I thought Mourinho was on the ropes. I thought he was going to go. I thought they kept changing formation. They couldn't figure out what they wanted to do. And now, obviously, they beat Burnley. I think Burnley were awful, though, to be fair, against Spurs. And it's not taking any away from a 4-0 win. You need it. But I don't know. If Tottenham can get it together, I think defensively you've got huge issues. Like, I'm not being funny, but Eric Dyer should be nowhere near that squad. It was so easy to play in behind him, and he makes so many errors. So if they can sort that out in the summer, then I think long-term they'll be all right. But it's weird, isn't it? I don't think we've ever seen Mourinho pick it up from a downward curve. So if he manages to somehow do it this season, then fair play to him.
Usually the high is a lot, like the peak is a lot higher than like.
But he's at a massive club though. Normally it's Tottenham, so he's like he did do quite well, and then it just sort of. No, because
you're a West Ham fan saying it's Tottenham.
No, the thing is, genuinely, I thought Tottenham were going to be in and around the title race. I think it was like November time. I thought like that low block was ridiculous. It was like bank of 6. I was like, oh, here we go, pure Mourinho. But the wheels fall off of Mourinho bus so quickly. And I think the only thing from what I hear is Harry Kane still believes in what Mourinho's trying to do. So that's a massive factor. But yeah, I'll be interested to see if he can turn it around.
Yeah, Michail Bambo in the building. Big up the chat, George, Bambo, all you guys in here. Starboy Cho. I think it's going to be interesting because the thing is with Tottenham is that, again, usually Mourinho's peak is a lot higher than just the Carabao Cup final. If this is where it peaks, then shit, man.
That's what I'm saying.
You know,
Man were selling their souls, saying, "Oh, get Mourinho in; it will be worth it for the League Cup." You mean to tell me that being 8th in the table is worth it for a League Cup? Give off, man! Come on, give off. No chance. No chance.
Oh my goodness! Do you know what it is with Tottenham? Yeah, is that every time they look like they're gonna get serious, they always seem to just falter. I don't know what was put in the group chat the other day as well for Toby. I think it might have been in the Big 6 one, but it was hilarious, fam. I can't remember what it was.
Some next man having beef with Steve, trying to defend me, and not knowing that he's inadvertently giving Steve some wood to beat my backside even more with. My man's sending him a screenshot of some Costa del Sol trophy that we won like 30 years ago. Like, what the hell, man? If there's one thing you shouldn't be doing as a Spurs fan, it's bragging about winning trophies, because it's not something that we've done to a high enough standard. It's not.
Yeah, it reminds me of them trophies like the Euro Vase and stuff like that on Football Manager. I don't even know where that trophy even comes from. Them ones there. I mean, we've also got another game today, which is obviously Chelsea versus Liverpool. I mean, I'm very, very nervous for that one. The closer it gets, the more nervous I get. And it's wild because Liverpool's form recently in this top 4 race has been horrendous. I mean, they've only just picked up their win there the other day. But for me, going to Anfield, I just feel like it's a sleeping giant, and it's a potential where their home form has been so bad, but you know they can just rise it for a big game. Where look at you smiling, you're looking forward to this game, aren't you?
I'm looking forward to it, bro.
It's after your game though, so if there's any surprises in your game, I'm telling you, you won't be looking forward to anything. I'm telling you, if your game throws up any surprises, it's a wrap. But the thing is with Liverpool, is I don't know what to expect anymore, because they've got players coming back. Fabinho apparently potentially could come back. Jota as well back in training. I don't even know who's going to start for them, but it probably will be Phillips and Co back in defence. But Chelsea are not scoring. So it's one of those games that are so 50-50. I don't really know what to expect from the match. I mean, Liverpool probably might present one of the first teams, bar Southampton, that actually, come out of their own 18-yard box and actually try and press up the pitch and, play a mid or high line against us and actually give us a bit of space. And it could be an end-to-end game. I think it potentially could be quite entertaining, because Tuchel doesn't, he doesn't really give me this vibe of a manager that will sit back and play defensive football all game. I mean, Toby, what do you make of this game? What would you expect from it? I'm excited but nervous for it. I'm not gonna lie.
I think it's going to be a good match. I think the fact that Tuchel is a manager who wants the ball, and the fact that Jurgen Klopp is a manager who will press the opposition no matter what, and he also wants the ball, I think it's going to make for a good contest, man. I think we've been starved. We've been starved of a good Big 6 match in a long, long time, man. They've all been pretty dead recently, and it's no coincidence that the last few have featured Man United. I'll leave you to put 2 and 2 together there. But I think, yeah, well, it's going to be a good match. You're right, Liverpool do have some players coming back, but Chelsea need to win. Let's be real. I told you about this real run that you lot started from Southampton, and since then, it's 2 games, no win for Tuchel after like 4 straight wins in the league.
Yeah.
With Chelsea, with Liverpool to come now, and then you got another few coming up as well. So, I think Liverpool are going to win this game. I think they're going to win this game, man. I think it's not going to be this battering. But I think Liverpool are going to nick it 2-1, man. I just expect there to be some sort of a reaction, man. And plus, you lot, your goals, man, your front line, they couldn't score in a brothel these days, let alone a football pitch. So it's a bit peak.
The way you predicted the win there actually got me shook, because I really don't know. I feel like this has actually got a draw written all over it, but obviously I'm going to ride and die and say 2-1 win for Chelsea. I mean, Corey, what do you make of this? Obviously, it's got massive repercussions for the top 4 race. As I said, this top 4 race couldn't be any tighter if we tried to make it that way. I mean, Liverpool are 2 points behind West Ham. Same games played. We've all played the same games actually. So now it's just about. Now it's just about, really what can be done in this match. What do you make of it?
Yeah, you got to win it, man. I mean, both of you do. That's the thing. You've both got to go for it, and it's going to be interesting how you deal with that higher line. I think that Southampton game was so interesting because you see Chelsea, they played brilliant against Atletico, controlled the game, and then you see Minamino just sneaking in between the two, like the 3 centre backs, and I was thinking, hang on, they are vulnerable here, and I know Christensen come in and he's done a good job so far, but I think it depends on if Liverpool can get Fabinho back into midfield. I think that's a huge plus. I think they've missed having Henderson. I know he's out of the game, but him dropping into centre-backs really hurt them. And you need Jota. And if they can get Jota as well on the pitch. Then the thing is, Firmino, I get what he does. I do understand it. But Jota is more direct. And he was in such good form as well before he got injured. That's the worry for you lot. Because if they break that midfield, which Liverpool can, Curtis Jones plays, carries the ball, then maybe it's going to be a tough evening. But to be fair to Chelsea, I've seen you control games. Like, obviously, Lampard didn't really know what he was doing too much, and Tuchel come in and he's sorted things out. So I reckon it'll be like a 2-2 or something, to be fair. But I don't know where you're going to get the goals from. I'm saying that, but I think I'm sort of imagining Werner's going to turn up at some point.
Yeah. At some point, our strikers have to turn up, because for me, at this point, Chelsea defensively have been rock solid. 2 goals conceded. We've said it so many times now, but the attack is really limiting us going forward. And even in games that we've won, we could have killed those games off if the attack were, if any way, firing. And I'm talking about just one of these guys turning up. Kai Havertz, Pulisic, Ziyech. One of the 3, Timo Werner. You talk about all these new players that come in. If one of them were even on form, we'd be 10 times better than we are. So it's literally like none of our forwards are actually on form. We talk about Giroud as well, but Giroud's, scored against Atletico, but then, doesn't get the goal against the Man United. So it's like Giroud's never really been a consistent goal scorer anyway in his career. He's always been that guy that's just a very complete player, supports others, but he's not going to get you the 20, 25 goals a season. Abraham's very hit and miss as well. There's actually no forward player at Chelsea who is even remotely on form. That is where we are.
Yeah, and I think you're right. And same way, there needs to be a reaction from Liverpool. You can also, like you said, say there needs to be a reaction for Chelsea. Like, I ran up the stats the other day. Havertz, Ziyech, Werner, and Pulisic combined 7 goals combined 7 or 8 goals in like 72 appearances combined this season, which is quite horrendous. Ziyech is another one. I think he's a baller, but like he's been so poor since he's come back from injury. Like some of these players just need to step up. Like it's that simple. The performances that we're seeing from them aren't acceptable at all. They need to be more ruthless. Ziyech, I know you have your doubts on him, but he can create. He can score goals. Werner, he's been so poor this season. He can score goals. Pulisic, you know my thoughts on Pulisic. I don't need to explain my thoughts on Pulisic, but he has enough in his locker to hurt Liverpool. We saw the game, this same fixture last season when he came on and was literally carrying your attack. So there is enough quality in that Chelsea attack to be doing better than they have done in recent weeks. So something has to give now, and they need to start firing for the manager. And then the last point I wanted to make, like Corey said, is that a draw is not good enough for both sides today. It's not. Man United have dropped points. Leicester have dropped points. this is your opportunity to make some considerable headway. Whoever it is that wins that, which is why I think both managers, they have to go for the win. So it's gonna be an entertaining game of football.
I couldn't agree more, because if you look at, again, Man United, Leicester dropping points, Chelsea have already missed the opportunity against Southampton, and Man United over the past weekend, who I thought were there for the taking if we could be a little bit more decisive in the final third as well. They played awful football in that second half. They were there for the taking. They've missed the opportunity to close the gap. You know, if Chelsea really, again, the last 2 results for me in the Premier League could have been winnable fixtures. You know, this is the fixture where I could have said, yeah, you can get a draw here if you had done the business in the last 2 games. I think I've always said, I thought this Liverpool away game was more difficult than the game against Man United at home. And I know that sounds crazy because Man United are second, but Man United have drawn all of their top 6 games 0-0, or lost 1-0 to Arsenal, and then the 6-1 beat down against Spurs. So they haven't beaten a top 6 team this season. We know how Man United set up. They had players injured as well. Pogba was out, you know, Cavani was out, so there was players missing as well. McTominay only just rushed back, and I just felt like as if that game there, that was a real opportunity to lay down a marker and make this Liverpool game a little bit easier for yourselves. But it is what it is. I mean, we've got Everton as well.
It's a game you should. Let's be real. It's a game realistically you can win. Like,
yes,
I predicted a Liverpool win, but I would not be shocked if Chelsea won this game. Like, it's a game you can win, and it's a game you should be looking to go to and win, because they're playing Kabak in defense. They're playing potentially Nat Phillips or Fabinho if Fabinho is going to be chucked in there. Liverpool by default at home, they need to go for the win. They're going to squeeze you high up the pitch. They're going to press higher up the pitch, and they're going to leave a lot of space in behind. We know this already. Everton exploited it. Man United exploited it. Brighton exploited it, etc., etc. We've seen it happen over and over again. So surely there must be some sort of fuse or flicker that needs to be switched in some of these attackers' heads to say, you know what, we're not playing against Van Dijk. We're not playing against Joe Gomez. We are playing against Ozan Kabak. We're playing against Nat Phillips. We're playing against an out of sorts Thiago in midfield, etc., etc. There's enough here for Chelsea to go and get a result. But whether you get a result remains to be seen. I'm still going for a Liverpool 2-1 win, but I mean, this is a game that Chelsea need to be going into thinking, why can't we win here?
But this is the thing. If you look at Liverpool, right, and I know people bang on about the injuries, and it's a fair point, but to play that high line, you need 2 centre-backs that really understand. And Kabak, to me, just doesn't look like he understands how to play that high line yet. Chelsea have got to take risks in this game, press up against them. It actually might suit Timo, to be fair. If he's willing to run in behind, you're going to cause... I look at that game for West Ham, and we didn't take enough risks. And we look at that as a lost game or a lost result. So I think teams are starting to suss out how you play against Liverpool. I know they got a win the other week against Sheffield United, but you've got to take that risk. And I think that's why it could be high scoring in the end. This is why for me...
Fabinho did play at the game at Stamford Bridge, though, just on that Timo Werner point. He played in the game against Stamford Bridge. Liverpool played the high line as they normally do, and he nullified Timo Werner completely. So I think Werner we need to see a reaction from Timo Werner. Like, enough is enough now. Whether he's playing on the inside left channel, whether he's playing up top, like, you have to come out here and stamp your authority. We know he's a good player. He has to come out and show it, bro. He has to. For me, this is why I would play Kai Havertz in the false 9 and Werner and Mount just behind. I think if we go with pace and energy, especially against a team where we're going to have to share the possession as well a lot more than we've been used to under Tuchel, I think if we try and expose that high line and try and have movement and pace around Kabak instead of playing as Giroud, maybe bring Giroud off the bench, because I feel like they can get touch tight to Giroud. Even though Giroud is superior than Kabak in every way in terms of a matchup, I feel like if you surround him with movement, pace, a little bit of skill in Kai Havertz, if he can turn up, then you might get a little bit more joy in behind, and you might actually expose that high line that I expect them to play. Phillips is very raw as well. He's not really going to have the experience, hopefully, to deal with that in comparison to a Fabinho. If Fabinho plays, I probably would think that he would play holding midfield, but I don't know. It's all up in the air, this selection. I think the starting lineup will tell a big tell in terms of how this game will pan out. But for me, someone said it in the chat, realistically, Chelsea need to be going for the win, because if there's any time you're going to beat Liverpool, it's now. Do you know what I'm saying? This is the worst run they've been on under Klopp. I don't think I've ever seen this many defeats at home in the whole time he's been, in charge for the last 2 seasons, where he was winning the league and then also came extremely close to winning the league in back-to-back seasons. I don't think there was as many home defeats in those 2 seasons, maybe even combined, than I've seen with just this season here. So for me, Chelsea should go with Havertz up top, bring Giroud off the bench, but they should be 100% going for the win, because
until you're in the top 4, for me, every game is a must-win. People say fixtures and this is a difficult game. Every game in the Premier League is difficult at this point. There's no point hand-picking, choosing which game you're going to pick out for wins. I've seen Chelsea's last 4 games as well. They're horrendous. So you told me and I checked. And I started sweating immediately. I was like, Lord Jesus. If anything, Chelsea need to have games in the bank in the top 4 before they get to that run. Not be clinging on for dear life, because otherwise it's going to be squeaky bum time. I mean, Corey, what would be your score prediction for later on tonight as well for the Liverpool-Chelsea game?
Yeah, I reckon it's goals, man. I reckon 2-2. Liverpool have got to start firing at some point. So, I mean, if Jota's in, then I reckon it'll be 2-2. But, you know, that's what it is. I think it'll be a draw. But you need to win. So, you need to go for it.
Yeah, we honestly can't afford to draw the game. If we draw the game, I think we've played 2 games. Well, Tottenham have obviously played tonight as well. If we draw the game, Tottenham will be back on our tails as well. So that's where issues will lie for us. I mean, someone said here, this is probably for Toby, Pulisic thought it was the playoffs during lockdown last season. Lockdown purple patch was a
bro, fam. He literally, a man thought he was LeBron James in the restart, and now he's just reverted back to type, bro. Like, it's
you might
playoff Pulisic.
Don't do this to me, please, people, please. Man said he was the MVP. Oh my goodness,
bro. He was for you lot. He was literally doing everything in the restart, and then he's just reverted to type, man. Last season was very much an outlier in Pulisic's career. What we're seeing this season is pretty similar to what we've seen for the majority of Pulisic's career, to be honest.
Yeah. Surely Jota, Alisson. I mean, Alisson for me, after everything he's gone through, in the last week, I think it would be crazy to start him, just concentration-wise, for a top goalkeeper to play in this magnitude of a game. I think it would be a risk. I saw someone tongue-in-cheek said the other day, Adrian's got the highest win percentage for a player playing for Liverpool, but we know he's been absolutely awful as well. So I think a lot of Liverpool fans were telling me in the previews to this game, you know, just shoot with Adrian in goal. They're telling me he's worse than Kepa. He's worse than Bravo when he was at Man City as well.
I don't think he's worse than Kepa.
No,
I personally, I think it's a bit much. I mean, I have to ask you, Corey, was he this bad at West Ham? I don't remember him.
Look, he's always,
and then he fell off towards the end.
He's always had that. He always has those kind of crazy moments. I remember when they played, it was Liverpool Villa, and he goes for the ball and he completely misses it, and that's what we used to see every week. And then he'd pull off a worldie, and you think, where's this come from? But he's definitely better than Kepa, though. I will say that, and he's better than Bravo, but. He's just mad. You know what Klopp's like, though. He wants his first teamers in. If he can get Alisson in, he will.
Yeah, I don't know. I
don't know about Matisse. Yeah. I don't know about. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know about playing Kai Havertz false 9. Didn't he play? I swear he played false 9 against Liverpool at Stamford Bridge.
He did, but we played a 4-3-3. So so Werner was right on the left touchline. We know he doesn't play there. Mason Mount was on the right. I think if you bring those two into the fake 10s where they've been playing,
3-4-3.
and make the wing backs push up, I think you might get a bit more joy. He was very.
You playing Hudson-Odoi then as a wing back?
Right wing back. Yeah,
you got a fourth in this right wing back team.
I know you. Yeah, you're not a big fan of it. I really do think he was isolated in that home game against Liverpool with the way we set up. And Hudson-Odoi at right wing back. The reason why I'd put him there and I'd go Chilwell left wing back, because then it allows you to change formation. Because against Barnsley, where they pressed us very high up the pitch in the cup game, Tuchel switched formation mid-game to help us build out from the back. He went to a back 4. And because Liverpool will probably press as well, and it'll be very difficult to play out from the back with their front 3, if we have to change formation, I would rather that we don't have to switch out a player. So we could just move Azpilicueta to right back, move Chilwell to left back, and move Hudson-Odoi up the pitch, and then you can switch to a back 4, change your build-up play, and change system during the game. So the reason why I'm putting him over there and Chilwell left back, obviously Chilwell left wing back for the transitions, and Salah, I don't really want to see Alonso go up against that type of pace. It allows you to switch tactics and systems mid-game. Yeah, it allows you to switch system mid-game, so you don't have to waste a substitution on a tactical situation. That's kind of what I'm feeling when it comes to that. I mean, Corey, what have you made of your front 3? Not the front 3. So what have you made of Hudson-Odoi at right wing back? Because he's it's very 50-50. Tobes is not keen. I think he's really doing well there, to be honest.
Go on, Corey.
No, I don't get the Hudson-Odoi thing, because I actually think he's a talented player. But didn't he get pulled off against Southampton, and he was
did,
sort of saying, I don't understand it. He needs to be playing. He needs to be playing regularly. The wing back thing probably doesn't suit him. Probably better as like almost an inside forward, maybe. But to be fair, I haven't seen enough of Chelsea to say he's exploited. You'll probably know whether he can get done defensively. And I think that's why Tuchel wants him to show that work rate. Because if he doesn't, you can't play that. So
he hasn't really been exploited, to be honest. Because Azpilicueta is probably the best person you could have behind you. I think as well, the thing is with Hudson is that if you play him over there, you might just say to Robertson, give him two things to think about in terms of bombing forward. I feel like if Robertson is at left back and we play Reece James over there, Reece James isn't as electric with his pace. I feel like you're more likely to see Robertson bomb forward, and then Chelsea on both sides could get done over with Trent on the other side bombing as well. And then suddenly you're in your own half. You're playing a back five. I think if you play Reece James over there, you're more likely to play a back five with whoever's on the left-hand side. And then you can start to get penned in, and then suddenly you can't really escape. And you really are just playing a low block with counter-attack. And I don't think that really suits Chelsea. Even though their defence has been good recently, I wouldn't want to see them defend them for their lives for a long spell. I feel like we'd still get done with no Thiago Silva, who's out for this game. So, obviously long term, I don't want to see Hudson-Odoi at right wing back, but I think for the short term to get results, I can understand it because you can't drop Mason Mount. And I think even though Timo's not playing the best, you can't take a guy who potentially can get you goals out of a team that doesn't get goals. If you see what I'm saying, like it would, for me, it would be, you know, you'd be slapping yourself in the face. So it's an interesting one. I mean, for this game as well, I want to get you guys' thoughts on Kante. Would you play him? Because obviously he played against United, picked up man of the match. I wasn't really that happy with the first half. I thought it was 50-50 in terms of off the ball, brilliant, on the ball, not so great. But obviously a lot of Chelsea fans would disagree with me. I mean, what do you guys make of Kante right now, just in terms of this game? I would probably play him in this game, to be honest. But
I'd play him. That you're both matches you played against Liverpool last year, the one in the Super Cup and the one in the league. He was outstanding in both games.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
And I would play him. I get the rationale to play Jorginho because it's going to be a more measured game of football. But you're not going to have. I don't think you're going to have as much as the ball as you normally do in some of these matches because Liverpool are also a possession-heavy team. And let's be real, you want someone who is a bit more combative and can do more things in midfield apart from just pass the ball. In this game, you're going to have Ronaldo buzzing around. You're going to have Curtis Jones buzzing around as well, and you're going to need someone to do a job on Thiago too. You're going to need someone to put the clampers down. And I feel like in this game, the double pivot of Kovacic and Kante works. It's industrious. Both are press resistant. Both are really good ball carriers.
Is Kante press resistant though?
I think to a certain extent he is.
He's had a lot of turnovers.
When I said both are press resistant, I'm talking more. Of course, I'm talking more Kovacic, but I think Kante is nippy with the ball. I'm not saying he ain't Ronaldo with it, where like it's hard to get him. It's ridiculously difficult to get him off the ball. But I think Kante definitely is more press resistant than Jorginho. I think Kante. I think Jorginho, what he brings in possession in this type of game with the energy that Liverpool's midfielders have. We've seen situations before in the past where he has been completely mashed up. He has been marked out of the game. So for me, I would go with your tried and tested formula with Kante and Kovacic, man. I think it should be able to go toe to toe with Liverpool's midfield tonight.
I think the only tried and tested formula that seems to be working for us is Jorginho and Kova, but. In saying that, I would play Kante in this game. My issue with playing Kova and Kante is that they're both attracted to the ball and neither of them really look what's behind them often enough and actually sit. And I feel like Jorginho will sit. So I'd probably go with Jorginho and Kante just for one actual sitter and one that will roam, because I feel like with Kova and Kante, they both like to roam in different ways. I think Kante's passing under the press is quite poor. For a top midfielder, if I'm measuring them as a world-class midfielder, his pass under the press and the amount of turnovers is not good enough recently. But he can dribble.
He can get cooked. Right.
He can dribble out of the press. I think his dribbling can be very underrated. That game that you're referring to against Liverpool in the Super Cup, his dribbling was incredible. He was nutmegging people. He was a bit further up the pitch though under Sarri. He was playing in that. Was it Sarri? Was it Lampard? I don't even remember. I think it was Lampard, but he was playing in it was Lampard. He was playing in a right-sided centre mid in a free. So he was a lot higher up the pitch in that game, and he was a little bit more able to roam. I mean, Corey, well, obviously we're going to wrap up soon, but just in terms of Kante, what do you make of him in terms of, obviously you've got a great midfield yourself, so you know about that.
I think it's a tough one, isn't it? You're coming up against the Liverpool 3 versus your 2, and I think that's the issue. You do need Kante. Kante's probably the only player you can think of that can press the ball and try and win it. But then you're coming up against kind of press-resistant midfielders. You've got the likes of Thiago, Wijnaldum. It's an issue. So, I mean, I like Kante. I really do. I think he's probably one of the most impressive players in terms of ball recoveries. But I think in this game, you need him to play almost in a little bit of an 8, and then you just have to rely on him getting back into shape. But I don't know, man. The problem is with that, because he is so likely to go and try and win that ball, you're probably going to have to step up your centre-backs a little bit, and then you're exposed. So you're going to have to get some personnel in the summer, and I'm not sure who it's going to be. Like with West Ham, we know that Rice can go and press and he can sit. Same with Soucek. So we've got that kind of security. But it feels like
might be
Chelsea,
Rice, you know.
it better not be, man. You can have Anthony back. Put him in.
It might be your guy.
It might be your guy, bro.
He's taking a lot of pictures.
Højbjerg. Take Højbjerg, mate. No, not Rice.
He's taking a lot of pictures of Mason Mount, and
I don't think they want Højbjerg still.
Yeah. He's big Chelsea
Mount's coming to West Ham if we get Champions League.
I mean, a lot of Chelsea fans don't really rate Mount, so I'm sure they would.
Mate, he's so underrated.
He's so underrated for me. Someone said you can drop him. He's not Hazard. I'm not saying he's Hazard, but in the way Chelsea are playing at the moment, who are you taking Mount out of the team for? Ziyech. Don't be silly. Are you taking him out? Are you taking Mount out for Pulisic? Again, what's Pulisic done recently? Nothing. So it's not about keeping Mason Mount in because he's Hazard. It's about keeping Mason Mount in because he's the only person who's actually showing something. The rest of the attacking midfielders are not. In terms of the 3v2 thing you brought up, I think that's why Mason kind of has to start, because we've seen Ziyech, you know, off the ball hasn't really been the same as when he's been at Ajax. Pulisic's an attacking midfielder, so you wouldn't expect that as well. But for me, Mason Mount makes it a 3v3 at times. But we're going to wrap up now as well, because I know my boy's got to go, and obviously we've got to keep it tight today. We're going to keep it short.
I got some games to get, man.
100%. We got to keep it a tight one today, but we're definitely, obviously, Lee's back. We're going to go back to Wednesdays at 1 p.m. next week. So obviously, I've surprised a lot of people this week, but we're going to go back to normal next week. And then it'll be all 4 of us for some WrestleMania in the top 4 race. That's what it's going to be. People, thank you so much for joining us. Obviously, look forward to the games tonight. Tottenham versus Fulham, Chelsea versus Liverpool. And yeah, like I said, it's a must-win W settings only. Make sure you catch Corey on West Ham Way. Link is in the description there for him. And obviously, he's the new boy here. So make sure you go and subscribe. Great to have a West Ham rep. He's above us all in the league, so it had to be done.
Yeah. Say it louder, mate. Say it louder.
Not for long.
It's going to be a great show. Do you know what I'm saying? It's going to be a great show now when Lee returns next week as well. And then TapinTobs, link is in the description. Content's coming out thick and fast now. I can see the momentum's kicking on now. Do you know what I'm saying? Do you know what I'm saying? Up on James Redmond channel the other day, Robbie, do you know, he's doing big things in the cut. So make sure you go and subscribe. Link is in the description, and I'll catch you all later in a bit, people. Peace.
Peace.